Child abandonment is a situation where a guardian or a parent leaves a child without regards to the child's health, well-being or safety. Yesterday, we established the fact that the number of children on the streets are increasing and that government alone cannot cater to all of them. We must join hands. We must open our hearts and our lives to these children. And like I said yesterday, we can do that one child at a time. Today, we'll be delving deeper as we look to solutions and way forward. Thank you for joining us. It is Weekend Deal coming to you from the network service of the NTA. My name is Patience Eloyi Abba. Thelma, the beautiful Thelma, is sitting here.
The delectable Patience. Yes, you couldn't have summed it up better than you have done thus far. Right now, as we're talking to over 200 million people just in Nigeria alone, they are watching. A good number of them are covered. Perhaps you are under your duvet, planning to have a cup of coffee like we have been doing over here. What is important is that there are a good number of children out there who are not enjoying what you're enjoying. It's time for yoga. You know it now. Body, mind, soul. Namaste.
Raise your knee, walk towards your trunk. Namaste. Hello to everyone. I am Diptiranjan Mohanty, a trained yoga teacher from High Commission of India, Abuja. She is Tinasi. Now we practice Nadi Shodhana Pranayama, alternate nostril breathing or psychic network purification. Those who are suffering from fever, flu, cold, they should not practice this pranayama. Now sit in any cross-leg posture or any meditative posture. Hands on the knees. Keep your head, neck and back in a straight line. Relax your whole body. Now close your right nostril through your right thumb. Breathe in through left nostril. Breathe out through left. Breathe in. Breathe out. Do it 5 times with closed eyes. Close your left nostril through your ring finger. Now breathe in through right nostril. Breathe out through right. Inhalation and exhalation should be 1:1 ratio. Don't make sounds when you inhale. Don't make sound when you exhale. Slow and deep in long inhalation. Nadi Shodhana Pranayam, psychic network purification. It removes minor blockages from nose and the flow of breath in both nostrils become more balanced. Breathing through the left nostril tends to active the right brain hemisphere and breathing through the right nostril activates the left hemisphere. So it balances both the hemisphere of our brain. It reduces stress, anxiety and insomnia. It calms down our mind and increases the oxygen level of our blood. Thank you for joining this yoga session. See you next time. Namaste. Raise your knee, walk towards your trunk.
Some very relaxing breathing exercise there. From that exercise, let's take another breather, but this time in form of a break.
Weekend Deal today, we continue with our conversation, just like we talked about it yesterday. Where is the place of the abandoned child in the society? And that's what we're still exploring deeply. We delve in again today as we set the tone with our background feature. Be a part.
Bearing a child is generally a thing of joy. To some, though, the case is different. As across different parts of Nigeria, it is sad that some children of all ages and sexes are seen abandoned.
There's still this religious, cultural belief a child is a witch. A child brings bad luck to the parents, and the child is abandoned, and the village accepts it. Because once there's this brandishing or tagging a child, a bad child, because it's prevalent in that system, in that culture, so everyone accepts it and said it's okay. About 10 years ago, there was a picture of this little boy in somewhere in Cross River State. A tourist came and saw the child picking, just very frail looking child. And the child, and the woman had to ask, why is this child alone? Onlookers were like, oh, forget this one. He's a witch. Yeah. It trended on social media. And the woman said, this baby, how can a baby be a witch? They were like, madam, you don't understand though. Now so they be, they go small like that, using local parlance to convince the woman that barely a 1-year-old child is a witch. And the woman ignored them and took up the child. They were like, good luck to you. And the woman was able to show 10 years later how the boy is faring in school, looking chubby.
The Nigerian Child Act of 2003 says that no child should be subjected to any form of cruelty or torture or inhuman treatment.
The Child Rights Act is a provision that protects every child in Nigeria. And the states in Nigeria went ahead to domesticate it to suit their unique peculiarities. Just like if there are states that practices the FGM, female genital mutilation, you see that state inculcating that aspect in their child rights law. For states like where they brandish a child a witch, you have that state inculcating that anybody that calls his child a witch, or anybody because of calling the child a witch abandons that child, commits offense under this law and is punishable by this. So they are all peculiar because of maybe the cultural and religious practices in that state.
The least a child needs is the basic amenities of life. Why abandon a child then, after the months of pregnancy and birth?
It's time our programming started looking into the prevention aspect. What is it that makes a mother or a family to abandon a child? Look at it from the background and nip it at the bud. Whereby a child has been abandoned, it is the duty of the social welfare of that state to take responsibility of the child. Our international standard practice now advocates for deinstitutionalization. Keeping children in orphanages has over the years shown that it's very expensive. Children are exposed the more. You find a lot of abuses. Children are trafficked, sexually violated, and the list goes on. Every child should find a home. Children should be made to find a home where the government will look into. It's not just for you to say, I will foster this child, and the government abandons that child. There must be a regular visit of social welfare and a proper registration, a proper data collection of all children who are in homes being fostered. And the regular visit will ensure that that child is getting the appropriate care that is expected. Because there's this practice called the gatekeeping Any child that should not be brought into a home or orphanage, nip it at the bud. If there are relations who can take care of that child, try to fix that child in that home and monitor the progress the child is doing in that home. If in that home the child is not doing so well, the child has opportunity to be transferred to a home where he or she will be catered for. From the family point of view, if parents are being strengthened, livelihood of the family is boosted. You find out that children will have a better way of living, feeding, accommodation, clothing, and all that. The government should take data of all homes which harbor children, known as orphanages, and be able to trace these children where they are coming from, if it's possible. If there are children of at least knowledgeable age, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, they can tell you where they are coming from. And you trace it back to the family. Why is this child this way? Is it possible if we begin to give you this amount of money, you'll be able to take care of your child? And you monitor it.
On Weekend Deal today, therefore, we look at abandoned children.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it is Weekend Deal, and our conversation today is centered on child abandonment. We established that there are so many reasons why a child could be abandoned. One of them is postpartum depression, where a mother is discharged from her child. Now that can be healed, but if it is not treated and healed on time, that detachment can prolong and it could lead to abandonment. NTA Network Center has done justice to this. Let's watch together.
According to research conducted in 2021, Nigeria's adolescent pregnancy was 106 in every 1,000, and this has shown an increasing rate yearly. Abuse, low self-esteem, child marriage, rape, poverty, neglect, among other factors, have been identified as major reasons for unintended pregnancies. Unintended pregnancy demonstrates predictive value as one of the earliest identifiable risk factors for child abandonment and maltreatment. Research also shows that unwanted pregnancies are associated with poor maternal upbringing, which leads to unpleasant circumstances for such children. They usually said to be at high risk of behavioral and psychological issues, as teen parenting is likely to hinder a child's social and emotional well-being. But aside this, how does this affect a teenager's mental health?
Is a teen and is pregnant or put to bed, the person could actually live normal like every other person, if given that every condition that make the person comfortable is available. But if not, other things, other ways of reacting could come, and that's where you now talk about the issue of depression after childbirth.
An emotionally absent mother is not fully present, and especially not emotionally involved in the life of the child. This leads to child abandonment. When parents abandon their children, they grow up feeling unsafe, unwanted, and find it difficult to trust. They usually feel out of place and do not deserve positive attention or adequate care.
Because of the pregnancy of this child, I have been deprived of so many things, It can bring about negative emotion towards that child, and that will reflect in the attitude of the mother to that child. And so the child will be looking at the mother as, she doesn't like me, she doesn't want me. There is no positive affection between the two. And when a situation like that occurs, then it is difficult for the mother and the child to bond.
Toxic mothers cannot recognize the impact of their behavior, which indirectly affects the larger society.
Because of the abandonment of they face, some of the young men will convince them that they love them so much, this, that. Some will go into depression, some can resort to drugs, and all these things have implication. It now increases the rate of crime in the society. It is very important that parents, even religious organizations, that they all work together to help and curb this problem of teenage pregnancy.
A healthy nation is a wealthy nation, and this involves shunning unhealthy behaviors that can lead to unwanted pregnancies that birth unloved, overlooked, disrespected, and abandoned children who struggle with anxiety, depression, unhealthy coping skills, rejection, and relationship problems as adults.
Very in-depth feature there, and we get to know that sometimes people take actions that they are not responsible for. In other words, they are in a state where they need treatment and they can do things that are untoward and are not progressive. I believe that as a mother, perhaps you can feel it when you're not acting naturally. But that's for the medical personnel to tell us. And we'll be having a psychologist on this show who will delve deeper into that regard. As we go to Uyo now, we'll find that some people, as a result of mental disorders, may abandon their children. But what we want to focus on is how to break that devastating cycle. Because indeed, the impact is often devastating and long-term. We must break it. Uyo, take it from here.
A deadly, troubling issue that has a devastating effect on the child's life and the society is child abandonment. It is an act where the parents or guardians intentionally leave their children without providing proper care, support, or supervision. It entails a serious form of child neglect where the parents or guardians essentially leave the children to fend for themselves without ensuring their safety and well-being.
Abandonment is the relinquishing of the rights of a child, and also illegally too. That means not wanting to care for the child, not wanting to educate the child, not have anything to do with the child.
Child abandonment is a violation of the children's rights and can have severe physical, emotional, psychological, and mental consequences for the child.
A child who is abandoned, you will see like the mental health, even the physical health has been affected. They react to a lot of things, especially psychologically, because we feel they should only be seen and not heard. And we shout at them, we label them.
Children are abandoned for different reasons, which could be either cultural, spiritual, and much more.
In marriage or when there's separation, the custody of the child could make a child to be abandoned. We have cases of children being abandoned because they are epileptic.
Maybe someone might come up with the idea of probably they said it's a witchcraft or something, and so maybe some of them might be going along with friends and decided not to come back home.
Some of them could be a result of probably they had exhibited a bad behavior at home and the parents or guardian do not handle it very properly. Rather than handling it properly, they send them out of the house. Could be mother is dead, so father got married to someone else, and the stepmom does not like the child, does not want the child around, and because the child feels uncomfortable, he finds the street more comfortable than home, and they venture into the street.
My mother died 2015 when she wanted to born child. So as she died, they wanted to bury her. They now took me to the village to go and stay with somebody. So my father now went back to Port Harcourt. So as I was staying with the person maltreated me. He used to give me food sometimes, so I now run out from the house and come and stay here.
My father, my mother used to stay in the street.
My mom died in 2019. I born in Commerce. I not see my father. I not see my sister. Only me, my mother born. That is the why I been in the street. My mother had died. I don't know my father before. I stay with the field.
Lack of food. Lack of food can cause those children to turn around the street. Lack of education in their own, in their family, their own environment, wherever they come from, can also make them to come out like that, and they beg one or two persons to give them food to eat.
Children who are abandoned should be helped by the government, individuals, or corporate organizations.
Join hands with government to see what we can do to adopt them from the street. However we are, send them to school, because I think education is the greatest thing that man can get. It can transform.
I want government to come. I want to go to school. Government to help me and give me to school, give me a place to stay.
Children are actually gifts from the Creator. They are to be treasured and not to be abandoned.
Children are to be loved. Children are to be brought up properly. And children have to be given their education. Their health has to be attended to. Their environmental well-being has to be handled properly.
That just breaks my heart all the time. The number of children on our streets are increasing, and I must emphasize, please, let's open our hearts and our lives to these children. Like Thelma said, joining our conversation now is a lady who has seen it all as far as this is concerned. She's a psychologist. Let's meet our guest.
It's time to get to meet our guest. We've seen her profile. Welcome to Weekend Eunice.
Thank you very much.
A psychologist is such a big word because it comes with a lot of responsibilities, especially when you're dealing with children. Because if we don't check a traumatic experience on time, we know what the cycle can look like.
Exactly.
And now they're describing child abandonment as a menace in Nigeria. Are we right?
Very correct.
Tell us more.
You know, so many women find themselves pregnant, or so many women who have gone through pregnancy, who have gone through marriage, but somehow the marriage is not working. They don't know what to do. Some of these children that are abandoned are born by children
themselves,
young teenagers. So they cannot take care of these children. They can't afford to handle the children. And even the ones who are married, some of them just have some psychological problems that they cannot explain. So they end up, you know, abandoning these children, neglecting these children, neglecting their needs. Sometimes abandonment is not only you drop them somewhere, you keep them, you abandon them even within
under
the
your
home.
roof.
Yes. You don't give, neglected. You don't give them attention. There's no emotional attachment. There's no, the child does not develop secure attachment with you. So they are there. You are there with the child, but you are not. There's no feedback. Yes. You just some parents are they give you presents, but they are not present themselves. They are not available.
Physically and emotionally unavailable.
Not available. So at that point, so we're not just talking about abandonment on the streets. That's another level. We're also talking about abandonment within the home.
Within the home.
Within the system.
How prevalent is that?
It is quite prevalent. It is quite prevalent. We may not have exact statistics figures right now, but it's there.
Okay, so you're a psychologist, and I've never been able to wrap my head around something, and that is the fact that pregnancy in itself, for so many women, is torturous, and it's life-changing and life-defining. And then a woman goes through that experience. I'm trying to emphasize here, goes through that experience, and then after 9 months, she sees her baby, and she's able to drop the baby. What's the state of mind? Please, I mean, yes, I hope I'm not asking for too much. What's the state of mind of a mother who can do that? How?
Some of these experiences are not natural experiences. They're psychological. Some of these pregnancies we're talking about are teenage pregnancies. What do I know as a teenager to give birth to another child? And even as a mother, as a woman who does not have something to keep, you don't have a livelihood, you are pregnant. You don't have the mental stability. You are pregnant. You don't have the support of your spouse. You don't have the support of people around you. You're pregnant. Pregnancy has its own challenges. That anxiety, I'm bringing a life. Oh, what's going to happen to me? Who's going to take care of me? Who's going to take care of the child? Then before you know it, they fall into depression.
But let's look at the lives of these young girls. Yes. I remember, because even though I know we have many out-of-school children, we have many children in school who are getting pregnant. Oh, yeah. Right from when, are you working with any schools, secondary schools?
Yes, I work with schools.
Because right from when we entered GSS 1, even from primary 5, we're being told there should be certain boundaries between you and a male. Like my first, I had very close friendships with, all my friends were boys for almost 10 years. So we were getting that lecture regularly. Some would say, even though it could be cynical, if you could go play the away game, be ready to bear the consequences. Oh, yeah. So are these girls being enlightened in any way? Then also, that period of the 9 months pregnancy, all through that 9 months, is no one in society watching her? The welfare systems, healthcare, neighborhoods, medical associations, unions, organizations, their home support? Because some still come from a home and they are still challenged in managing these children. How do we bridge the gap?
Okay, let me speak to the first one about teenagers being spoken to, being enlightened in schools and all. So many people don't really understand that aspect of enlightening these children. In our own days, they tell you, do not touch a boy. Yeah. You cannot tell a Gen Z, do not touch a boy right now. I will touch the boy to find out what will happen. So you tell, no, you can't tell them do not. You can't say do not touch a boy. You tell them why, the consequences of their actions. You explain to them. But our own time, it was a bit different. So when I have the opportunity to talk to teenagers, to talk to students, I tell you the disadvantage. I tell you, you will get pregnant. The consequences. I tell you the consequences of getting pregnant at your age. I break it down. And when I have the opportunity of talking to parents, I tell you, you have to, don't forget about, let's not, I had some time ago, I had a program for children, and I was exposing them to some of these things, warning them, early pregnancy, and a parent called me to say, no, I've not exposed my child to that kind of information.
The child is 10
and
steps
the child was
ahead of
yeah, exactly. And the child was about 8 at the time. Say, no, this is too young. And a few years later, you're calling me to tell me, oh, the boy is now talking about private part, the girl's private part. The boy is not talking about this. I'm like, you did not apply the law of first mention. Where you mention it to the child, when the child gets to hear it from you, when the child gets to hear, that's why the society will have a job to do. Yes. Teachers have a job to do. Sure. You also have a job.
Guardians.
People have it. So when you talk about when these girls are pregnant, who is watching them, why are they not watching them? Who is paying attention?
We are.
But not are we really paying attention? Do you see a teenage girl pregnant walking on the road and try to find out, are you okay? Who is your parents? Yes. we're too busy. We're too busy. So I'm hoping that eventually, stakeholders will begin to come into this conversation, will begin to go out there to find out what is happening with them, IDP camps, even in homes, even in schools. They are
and
oftentimes
some of these young girls, we come to hear they're being exploited by people that they know.
Yes.
A lot of exploitation,
yes.
People they are close with the family.
Yes.
Some relations as well.
Yes. I've heard of stories
That's
of
even more
relations. I've heard of stories of, when I mean relations, I've heard stories of fathers exploiting their daughters. I've heard stories of uncles exploiting their nieces. So it's not far-fetched. It's not far away. It's not outside the home most times. It's within. It starts from within the homes, and then the child loses that confidence. So if I can get it, if I can get, abused at home, what am I protecting?
Hold that thought. Ibadan is joining the conversation now. Let's see what they have to add to this.
The arrival of a newborn in any household often herald an unprecedented joy. As beautiful the happiness of childbirth is, some, out of sheer irresponsibility or some reasons best known to them, do abandon their children, which is alien to core African values. A custodian of culture and tradition shed more light on raising of children in contemporary Yoruba traditional society.
In Yoruba land, there is an idiom which supports our cultural and traditional values. And the idiom is, 4 eyes give birth to a baby, 1,000 eyes look after that baby. So which means, yes, a couple will give birth to a baby, but the upbringing, discipline, incorporation into the traditional family values or the tribal values will come to that baby from lessons, teachings, and discipline given to him or her by the neighborhood.
Oftentimes, abandoned children or kids not shown love within the family feel anxiety, depression, attachment disorder, and anger, which could impact the psychological and emotional balance of such children. Also, they face societal stigma and discrimination, and it takes strong determination and good luck for such individual to scale through in life. One of such with success story is Nigerian comedian Ellen Paul.
You must have heard before where I shared on a stage saying I was born out of rape. And I grew up with my great-grandmother, where everybody in the compound, in the area, will call me bastard.
A clergy encourage parents to care and see to the welfare of their children and wards. Respondents are of the opinion that family is the smallest unit of the society, and when all children are well cared for from the home front, it will impact the society and indeed the entire nation positively.
This is the time to go back to community parenting. If we don't, the consequences are dire. That's why psychologists is delving in. We're going inwards now. These abandoned children, do you have direct experiences with some of them? And if you have, what do you find?
Okay, these abandoned children, some of them, especially those who are up to the age of teenage, they do not trust people around them. They do not trust any help you want to render. They do not trust themselves. So they can't even accept this. They find it difficult because they are so traumatized to the point that they cannot believe that there are people there who really want to help them. I think about a year ago, I came in contact with a 17, at the time she was 17, and I noticed she was just roaming around, just going from place to place, not doing anything specific. So I thought to ask her, who are you? Who are your parents? She told me her story. Her mom gave birth to them. Their father left them. So they are now left to fend for themselves. The mom is in Benue State. She's in Abuja. She doesn't even have a place to live. She doesn't even have... So she's just anywhere. Say, so where are you now? Where were you yesterday? Oh, my friend. Oh, who are these friends? So I tried to, come into the picture to say, okay, what do we do to help? How do we, okay, what you do, come to the office, come to my place the next day to, let's see what we can do. Because I discovered that she had mental issues. She already started exhibiting signs of depression and anxiety. So I thought to rehabilitate her before we start doing, getting her, just talk to her, let her have those sessions, So I discovered that the first day she came, she seemed to be willing. She seemed to be willing. She was talking. That was when she was able to tell me her story. They've taken her to different homes. They've taken her to live with people and all that. And then the people were being the ones abusing her. So as they were abusing her, she didn't have any place to run. So they come with the guise of, we want to help you. So when immediately she said that, I understood immediately why she would not trust what I'm saying. Yeah, she won't trust what I'm saying. So I decided to say, okay, so what happened? By the time she gave me the story phase by phase, in fact, I knew that it was going to be a tough call.
Injury upon injury.
It was deep.
Okay, I have a message here, and it's coming from Benin Sete, Ladi, which is from Benin, and it says, we are focused on the children. The psychologist talked about children being abandoned even in the home. Who is talking to those parents and guardians? How do we address this? Because they're already adults. They think they know it all.
Yeah. Okay. This question is really, it's a part of me. It's a question that touches my heart at all times, because, like you said, they are adults. They think they know it all. Our parents brought us up so we can bring up our children. I'm working hard. I'm working hard to provide for these children. I don't need to be there for them. So that is why we should begin to create programs that will educate these parents. They need to be educated.
We must carry the parents along
We
and
have
educate
to
them so they know that
do
physical presence is different from emotional presence.
They need to be available
emotionally. So when you're there physically does not mean you're actually there.
Some of them are there physically, but they are not there. They're just walking. They're just hello, hi. There's no connection.
Yes.
Parents need to learn that connection.
They must connect.
There's everything about connection parenting.
Connect. Okay. You must connect.
That's everything.
All right, hold that thought. Thank you so much, Eunice. We'll go on a break, and our conversation is still on the front burner. Don't go away.
We are doing this together as patriots, as Nigerians, finding a place for abandoned children, as special children, giving them a place in society, while enabling and utilizing the help of a trained psychologist. But we want you to be a part of this show.
The story of an abandoned child is replete with the absence of parental care and education, missing out on health care, which are critical to human development, left in the cold at the mercy of the streets. Amidst this heart-wrenching story of abandonment comes the ray of hope in the messianic gesture of orphanage homes, who come to the rescue and rehabilitation of these special ones.
When we commenced operation, we had a target, and the target was to see how we can actually get a number of children out of the streets, abandoned children, and give them adequate care. And that is actually our core focus, and also to give them basic necessary needs, which includes education, shelter, and health care. And that we've been pursuing with vigor. We are driven by passion, and we are committed to the cause. Our passion actually keeps us going.
My own home is specifically noted for rescue of twins and motherless children who lost their mothers in Abuja interior. Because if we don't do that, the children will be left to die. But we don't pick children once they are above 15. For example, somebody has just given back to twins, since their life is in danger, or a nursing mother just died, and nobody in the community is ready to care for them. Our contact people, our informants, will call us. Sometimes it takes us going into the community, talk with the village head, and the family and tell them that we care for the child. We try to stop the practice that is bringing about the children to our own home.
According to reports by UNICEF, there are 17.5 million orphans and vulnerable children in Nigeria. In another recent joint report by WHO and UNICEF, Nigeria ranks in the bottom 10 for child flourishing, ranking 174 out of 180 countries, below Afghanistan, Sierra Leone and South Sudan. This is majorly due to challenges encountered by the orphanages.
Number one, underfunding. Basically underfunding. Limited resources is one of the basic challenges we have, especially this very moment, where we have the issue of charity fatigue. We have private persons normally who comes to give arms or support to homes. But these days it has drastically reduced. We tell people that orphanage is not a place to actually raise children, but where the need comes up, where there is no any other alternative, they are kept there, but on temporary basis. You get it? But we have had cases where they have to stay beyond the normal age, and it's really giving us a serious problem. They were supposed to be what we call transitional centers, where they are moved from the home to a transitional place where they have been given certain level of skills, where they can stay on their own, but then still supervised by the home, but then still guided by the home. You understand? So, but they tend to still remain in the shelter, which poses a lot of problems because you still have younger ones, age 0 to 5, age 5 to 10. Then you still have the ones who are above 18, still in the center. And what we encourage, friends and colleagues who are also into the industry is see to how you can actually, do something for yourself to keep the home going. Like for me, I have a farm. I have a pig farm, I have a poultry farm. You understand? And by the grace of God, the resources from, that source, help source. So with the ones we have from individuals, from corporate bodies, who come to the home and then say, take this for the, so it helps a lot.
There's a little boy at the intensive care unit at the teaching hospital, Gwagwalada. The mother died, but the child was still in the womb. Their community had no health facility. And then the traditional birth attendants, how they knew that that child could still be alive, they managed to bring out the child from the mother's womb, but in the process of doing that, they twisted the two legs of the baby. What do we do? And then he showed me the next. Look at what happened. I just immediately called my caregivers and said, let's take care of this child straight to the teaching hospital, Gwagwalada. That child has been at the intensive care unit since 3 weeks ago. So the major challenge is that you are bringing a child, there are health challenges. Some could be HIV positive, some could be hepatitis already in their system, some could be that the child is a sickler. So a lot of money is spent to get the child back to normalcy. You want to talk of feeding, infant formula, which is not cheap today in Nigeria. Like in my home, I use almost 2 cartons of infant formula every week just to make sure that the baby gets the best. Clothing, and then when they are ready to go to school, these are challenges.
The success story of an orphanage home is mainly about connecting with the right people and organizations.
Okay, we just saw that feature from NTA Abuja that focused on abandonment, rescue and rehabilitation.
Our guest is still sitting in the house and we've had a whole lot of messages. Thank you for reaching out. Some of you asked where the government can come in. Some of you are social workers who are interested in partnering and doing something in saving the world one child at a time. Eunice, do you think the government is doing enough? And people who want to partner, what should they do?
Well, the government, we can't always put the burden on the government. I would always say that. Now that people are beginning to come to the realization that they need to put in, they need to do something, it's important to start from where you are. Start from the little you can do. while we call on the government, we call on stakeholders to help these children, to help us help these children. Start from what you can do. Join campaigns, join NGO movements, join anything that will help these children. And then for the parents, they also need rehabilitation, because some of these parents who have abandoned their children, they have things they're dealing with. Probably that's what is prompting them to abandon the children. They just feel inadequate. In fact, some of these things you may not be able to interfere with people's homes. But if you notice that it's getting too much, if you notice that, you call on people, call on the social workers, call on the government, call on the stakeholders, those who can come in to help, to say, I have noticed something in this, in this house, I've noticed something in this compound or in this street, what do I do? How do I come in? Some of them will tell you, okay, you can go in. Some of them will tell you, hold on, we'll send men, we'll send officers.
We are coming.
We are coming.
Okay.
So if you see something,
so if you say something and say something in the right direction to the right people, those who have the jurisdiction to attend to that situation and deal with it. Thank you so much, Eunice. I mean, your expert advice has been phenomenal. We are the better for it. Nigeria is too, because we're all listening and getting better knowledge, keeping abreast of what we can do for our children, because they have a place in society. We thank you for coming on Weekend Deal.
Our new guest is in the house, a man who has worked with so many people that have mental issues, and he's doing so great in that particular area. He's a social worker of repute. Let's meet our guest.
But they worked on that one.
Well, we're here with Francis Onyekwe, and we've been getting regaled about his experiences in Sierra Leone and now in Nigeria. We welcome you to Weekend Deal.
Thank you very much.
Our children are our focus today, their place, their unique niche in society, and as long as they are abandoned out there, they cannot fulfill their potentials. While we must bring them to blend with society, and we're harnessing and synergizing ways and methods to do that. Please bring your expert advice to this discourse. You say you'll be working mostly with adults?
Yeah, most times we work with children, but by the time we will have a home, that's when we'll concentrate more on children.
Okay.
Yeah, because actually it's a heartbreaking issue. It's a heartbreaking issue that calls for concern from everybody, not just government. A child will be placed under your care. At a point, you just abandon that child. And it comes in many forms. One form could be a physical abandonment, and the other one is emotional. And that of emotional, the child can be in your home as a parent or as a caregiver, but you've abandoned that child. You don't know. It happens. Emotionally, you are not connected with the child. Emotionally, you are not there for the child. But you may provide everything, but that child is not connected with you. You ask yourself, why do we have street children today? It's as a result of abandonment from parents. So they go to the street where they get care, where they get love, and they stay there.
Sometimes negative care, negative love.
Yeah,
they fall into wrong hands.
Exactly.
Banditry. They get used to drugs.
But you see, the important thing in life is that we all need care.
Yes.
We all need support. We all need to be loved.
There are children on the streets today as we speak. Like when we opened the show today, we identified the fact that it had rained in Abuja. And as I was coming to work today, I saw some people who obviously had spent the night there. Some young, some middle-aged, even some elderly. They are no longer children, but they would also love some shelter and some warmth. Those children out there now, we've talked about community parenting. Who is going to go to them? And how will we bring them from the streets to a place of care and warmth?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's very, very critical, because considering the security situation in the country, social workers, NGO workers find it difficult to go out there. Now, the time and places to get them is at night. You get them in the clubs, You get them in the marketplaces. Some of them sleep in the market stores. Yes. But you need security to go there and get them. If you go there alone, they can mob you. Yes. You understand? And you have to be friendly with them to engage them so that they will follow you. Because they are used to that system. They might not want to leave. You understand? Even if you want to do a research on them, it has to be at night. Or maybe during the day, you see them walking in the marketplaces, carrying load and things like that. But engaging them at that point, they might not give you the full attention because they are looking for money.
Okay, I mean, Thelma said something, she has been saying it about community parenting. Okay. And let me just tell you a very short story of a friend, a colleague of mine who said that, we were talking and I said, where are you from? He said, I really don't know where I'm from. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, no, that his mother was a mentally, challenged woman. Let me say it now, a mad woman, who was staying close to a compound, got pregnant with him, had him, and as she was growing up in that environment, the owner of the house, somehow he integrated with the children. The name he's bearing today is the name of the man who owns the compound, and was able to go to school with them. Went to school, he went through a whole lot. From point A to point B, it's a whole lot of story that I can't tell here. But he went to the university, today he's working, and he's bearing the name of that compound.
That's an amazing family.
Honestly, they don't know. And when the woman passed, and she had another one, who is his sister, that is the only sister he has in the world, and that's how he bears the name of that man. And I mean, community parenting, how do we get people to understand that we must do this together? That child is your child. This guy I'm talking about is a big guy now. He's doing well. Honestly, he's doing well.
That child is a future senator.
Yes,
president.
How do we allow people to know? Especially when a mad woman,
in quote,
gives birth, and the children are dragged on the streets. Social workers, what are people doing in that regard?
We need to go back to our olden days. Because in those days, a child is a child of everybody in the community. Yes. You understand? But what is happening now? We don't have that again. Nobody cares. You come to the city, you see fences, high fences in every compound. Yes. Nobody wants to know what is happening in the other compound. I think we need to go back to the olden days. If
you correct people's children now, they'll tell you it's not your business. Even if you correct somebody's child, they'll tell you the mother will look you in the eye and tell you what's your business.
But the mode, like I've always said, the mode of correction should spearhead change.
Yeah,
so there should be a level of gentleness in how we get children to turn from something negative to something good. But I have a few messages. Let me take them. Okay. You didn't tell us where you're from. Say your name is Oge. Oge says the nation is sick. The family is hungry. Religious leaders are after money. Who then can help the abandoned children? And so we need more not governmental organizations, also not for profit. He says even the NGOs, many of them are after money. That's what they're looking for. Biggest donor, and they push those funds to themselves. One more, there's an urgent need to have a national commission for abandoned children to avert a looming disaster. This is from Abdul Yusuf. He didn't say where it's reaching us from. Are you of the same opinion?
Yeah, if we have a home for abandoned children.
No, it's a commission.
A commission for abandoned. Yeah. Are we going to have commission for every social problem?
Exactly.
I think maybe an institution like NAPTIP, they can extend their mandate to cover that aspect. You understand? Because even the VAP Act is domiciled with NAPTIP. Yes. You understand? So I think they can extend their mandate to cover that side. And again, even if they cover that aspect, will they put them where? In a home? Or will they take care of them from... Because there has been a research over the years of so many disadvantages of keeping children in a home, in an institution. Yes. So like that is why, like an orphanage or any home at all for children.
Because that it's not being well managed?
Yeah, most times they are not being well managed. Even when they are well managed, you find out that a child that is coming from the street, that goes to toilet in the bush, eats anyhow.
It takes time.
It's now using
a water system,
water closet. Now, at the end of the day, maybe they have to stay in that institution for 3 years or 5 years. At the end of the day, you want to reunite that child with the family that are coming from a community that still go to toilet in the bush. How do you marry that?
Okay. But
some of them wouldn't want to go again.
No, but it is hoped that
so
when you
that
pick a child from the street and take them into a building to live with other people that they've never met, we do hope there should be some kind of counseling.
Yeah, there is.
Isn't there?
There is.
Continue.
But, you see, SOS have done it over the years. They now realize the disadvantages. That is why in the orphanage home of SOS now, they attach those children to a family. You understand? Like, yes, they have that mother,
foster care.
Yeah, they have that mother parent relationship instead of just putting them in just
which is always better.
Yes, that's and one person or two people will be taking care of them. So these things have to be taken into consideration if we are to have a commission for that. Where do you keep them?
That's not the biggest challenge we need. We have.
Yes.
We need more foster care, more foster homes, more responsive adults who are willing to bring them close with counseling.
Mr. Francis, our children, we are still talking about our children. And we said that, like we're responding to that question, a new commission, a new ministry will not cut it. We need more hearts, more homes. How do we let Nigerians know, as a social worker, how do we tell people to have more apathy, to have more sympathy and love for our children? Like Thelma also said, people have had terrible experiences. So when you bring a child next to them, they just remember their experience and they close their hearts.
Okay, Mr. Francis, I'm asked that you should hold your thought. Let me take one more message. So you blend it all together as you respond on a final note. Olushola from the FCT says there are many issues. It says corruption at some levels is impacting many families. That's why there's so much hardship. Hitherto, who would have thought that a parent, a guardian would abandon their child intentionally and deliberately? It's happening now. We are all willing to open our hearts. We're all willing to open our homes. But many do not have the wherewithal.
Okay. Yeah, before I go to that question, there's something I want to say. And I think we have to start from the basis. We have to let parents understand what it means by being a parent. Now, there's a strong bond that exists immediately a child is conceived. That bond continues until delivery. It continues even during breastfeeding. It's a strong bond. You understand? And it's not something you play with. You can imagine you, after going through that 9 months, you breastfeed a baby, at a point you abandon the baby. It's called brutal separation.
Brutal, indeed. Brutal at every level.
So how do you expect that child to grow up? You cut off the relationship without any arrangement, without any preparation. So from this time of pregnancy, I think parents, mothers, need to understand, because you see, when
we have 1 minute, sir. 1 minute to close, to wrap up.
Sorry, when a woman is pregnant, even the father needs to show concern.
Yes.
So that the bond will also extend to the father. You understand? So and with the things going on in Nigeria now and the insecurity situation, I think we need to also know that these people are children. They need to be cared for. We need to go back to our bases, take care of them, provide for them. Anywhere you meet them on the street, there was a program in Kenya sometime about street children. They say, each one win one. Street corner approach. When you meet them on the street, talk to them on the street. But before that, there should be provision. Some of them are willing to go to homes, but where do you take them to?
We have to rest it on that note, Mr. Francis. It's been amazing learning from you. We can't do it all in one day, but thank you for the amazing experience of benefiting from your vast knowledge, spearheading our children to foster homes and places of warmth and love. Patience.
Yes, I'll just end by saying that we can make the world better. How did I say? One
child at a time. Nigerians love those children. They are ours.